everyone, and welcome back to Baron's Den for the next roster change video. And next up, it's Lizardmen. So, Lizardmen have always been a pretty decent team in Blood Bowl at times, but I think people have thought they're in the very top echelon of the sport. Often in tournament rankings, they're either in the tier 1 or the tier 1.5, or sometimes tier 2, I suppose. But they are well thought of. They are a classic team of strong blockers and quick runners, so they can do a bit of everything. Sometimes, though, you can destroy the skinks, which leaves the Saurus a little bit vulnerable to being just marked out of the game. So they have their weaknesses, but they can really cook when they get going. So let's see what Season 3 has in store for them. So let's start with the skink linemen. They are 0 to 16. They are still movement 8 and strength 2. They are stunty players after all. Edge 3+, passing 4+, armour 8+. Nothing particularly amazing there. And they are, apart from their movement obviously, and they are 60,000, so they are expensive for a stunty player. But they're not just the stunty player, they are the linemen, and they're not really just the linemen, they're the runners as well. They're your scorers. So they do play an important role in the team, which is what is reflected in their price. They only have agility access on primary. I did wonder whether they'd get Devious, as Dribble and Drool, the 2-star players, who are designed after the skinks, because they are another pair of skinks. They are quite stabby and fowly, so I'd expect maybe the skinks to get it on primary, but I'm at least glad they've got it on secondary. It'd be expensive to build a devious skink, but it might be something that some people consider. But because you can't, I think if you could do it random secondaries, you'd consider it with a skink. I think now you've got to choose it. I don't know whether it's something that people will look to do, but we'll have to wait and see. They keep their passing and strength and general on secondaries. The downside here is, again, you might try randoming generals in the old days with skinks if you're going to get them cheaper. But you're not even allowed to random on secondaries anymore, so those days are gone. Skills and traits wise, you've got dodge and stunty. Stunty and their movement is what makes skinks really, really good, I suppose, and dodge, because it means that they can go through tackle zones and it's just the 3+ forever. What's going to be really good for skinks is, I suppose there's a good thing and a bad thing. The changes to secondaries is going to hurt the skinks because it's going to cost them a fortune. Like getting block on a skink now, it's going to cost, was it 50,000? Because it's an elite skill and it's a secondary for them and you can't random it. You have to choose it if you want it. So that's going to be more expensive. So that's a downside to the skinks. The upside is you're much more likely to get an edge increase when you go for a stat up, which is what's really good for a skink, is an agility increase. Movement increase isn't bad. Going up to movement 9, it's great. But an agility increase would be absolutely sweet. And I suppose if you were stuck with just armour or passing and you didn't want that, you could happily take block then, couldn't you? But yeah, I'd be considering going for stat ups on skinks, trying to get that edge 2+. Edge 2+ stunty, that skink's going to be a nightmare. Okay, so that's the skinks. No real change then, just the devious added to secondary. Chameleon skinks, and no real change to their actual skills. So they've got dodge on the ball, shadowing and stunty. They've got passing access on primary though, which is big because it means that they can get stuck into those passing skills. They could even random them because you get, for a random, you can have two rolls, and obviously they've already got on the ball. So you've got a chance really of triggering one of the better passing skills, a much better chance anyway. And although it's not going to come to you cheaper, it might mean you can develop your chameleon skink that little bit faster. Again, Devious is there on the secondary, but not that that's going to be that important for the chameleon skink. But the other buff they've had indirectly is the buff to shadowing, because at movement 7, if they were shadowing an average player, movement 6, that was only triggering on a 5+. So now it's triggering on a 4+. And obviously, if it's shadowing at a gutter runner, which is 2 faster, that would have been a 6+. Well, now it's on a 4+ still. So I do think shadowing is going to work better. The argument could be that you don't really want your chameleon skink shadowing people because he's not the strongest fella and he could easily get counter-punched. But if it's in their turn, they're trying to get away from you, then they've already had a go at trying to get away, haven't they? So I still think it's quite good for them. But other than that, no real changes. Saurus blocker, now this one's seen the most change of all of the positionals. So you've got movement 6, strength 4, edge 5+, Passing 6+. Now, could they pass before? They could, but they weren't great at it. And then armor 10+. So, stat-wise, they are the same. But have they improved in other ways? Well, they've gone up in 5k, so they're more expensive now. Which might not seem like a big deal, but it's going to hurt them because you want 6 Saurus blockers. Either straight away, or you might be sacrificing one for a Croxigor. Now that's going to add 30k to your team total, and that could see you having to miss out on an additional blocker, ruling you out for the Croxigor for longer, and it's a bit of a shame if that's the case. They've got general and strength on primary, only agility on secondary. And then comes 2 more things that have changed, one being a good thing and one being a not so good thing. The good thing is Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut's not block, but it's going to be useful for the Saurus because it means that you can confidently at least blitz and not worry about the both downs, which is so important in the early days of the Saurus. And the downside is that it's unsteady, which is a bit of a shame because it would have been good to carry on the Saurus to help level them up a bit quicker. And I don't think they'd have been overpowered because with their agility at 5+, opposition players could mark them fairly easily, and you just think it wouldn't overpower Lizardmen. It would just occasionally allow Lizardmen players the chance to get star player points on these players that sometimes can be difficult to level up and important to level up because they need skills. The Saurus. The other problem's going to be the elite tax, isn't it? Because what 3 skills do Saurus really love? Block, guard, mighty blow. And all 3 of those are elite. So that's an extra 30k per Saurus. If you did that with 6 Saurus, that's 180k extra than you would have normally had on your team value. Now, you don't need them on. You don't need all 3 on every single Saurus, for example. And maybe you do just start to look past block now, and maybe Brawler, a combination of Brawler and Juggernaut is what you decide to do with the Saurus blocker to try and keep your costs down. I don't know. That's something that Lizardmen players are going to have to work out. I've actually played a lot of Lizardmen, but it's always in digital form. I do have the models, but I've never really run them in a league, a tabletop league, or in a tabletop tournament. It's always been Blood Bowl 2 and 3. And I quite like Lizardmen. I should really run them in a tabletop. Maybe this is the opportunity to do it. Okay, so that's the Saurus. Croxigor, love this player. So the Croxigor is movement 6, strength 5, edge 5+. He can now pass if he needs to. Probably won't ever need to, but you never know. Armor 10+, and he's 140k. Strength on primary. Secondary is general and agility. And his skills are Bonehead, Loner, Mighty Blow, Pre-Intel Tail, Thick Skull. He is essentially the same. It just means that he can throw now. And as has been pointed out to me, another use for passing 6+ is if someone throws a bomb at you. At least you can try and throw it back now. It's probably going to go... You're probably going to drop it or fumble it, but at least you've got a chance of chucking it back now. So, yeah, that's the Croxigor. I don't see any issues for him going into this edition. Additional rules are that the rerolls are 70k, you can have an Apothecary, and they are Lustrian Super League. I think they're hurt a little bit more for star players, because I noticed, I'm pretty sure, for some bizarre reason, people like Zug and Carla were Lustrian Super League as well as our World Classic, which they're not anymore. I might be wrong about that. Yeah, both of them could play for Lustrian Super League, which they don't anymore, so they have lost some star player access. However, that was at a time where there weren't many like Amazon and Lizardmen star players, so they needed some of the old World Classic players. But now they've got Anki Panky, Gottlestop, Estelle, Boa Constrictor, Dribble, Drool. There's quite a few in the Lustrian Super League now, so I suppose that's one of the reasons why they've been able to change that now. And let's look at the pros and cons then. So I'd say that the pros are minor and the cons are minor, so which is why I've kind of gone out with an evens for the Lizardmen. Probably the biggest con is the increase on the Saurus. That's going to give you some early build issues. Unsteady on the Saurus means you can't carry with the ball, which isn't really anything new for them. It's just that it could have been an opportunity for them. And then the elite tax really hurts the Saurus, I think, because a lot of the skills they want, they don't have. But they're in the same boat as a lot of other, like Black Orcs and Chaos Warriors, Bloodseekers. You know, those players who want the Block Guard Mighty Blow trifecta. It's going to either cost them, or they're going to have to only have some players, which I think potentially is better for the game. There's nothing worse than spinning into a team that's full of Block Guard Mighty Blow. So we'll have to see if it has how much of an effect it does have on people's decisions. But then the pros, better skill access on the chameleon skink, I think is good. Juggernaut on the Saurus, I think is good. Some devious access, even if it's not really going to be something that people look at, is okay. And the Croxagore can pass in a pinch if he needs to. So yeah, on the whole, I might even say that the cons slightly outweigh the pros, but not enough for me to turn this arrow upside down. So I'm going to say that I think Lizardmen are pretty much stayed where they are, which is still a good team. You've just got to be more careful with your build options now and think carefully about how you're going to use which of those elite skills you're going to put on. So where does that put the Lizardmen? In good company with a lot of other teams that I think, even if they've had changes, they're more or less where they were. Less said about the Skaven, the better, because I think as predicted, I got the response I thought I'd get from some people that they disagree, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So even if you do believe Skaven should be over here, we're still looking at more teams that have either stayed where they should be or are getting better. And with the teams we've got left, I've tried to leave teams that you could fall into all these categories. I don't know if I'm going to put anybody in this category. This might be the category I do at the end. Let's say this is filled up and I've got to think which of these is the worst. I worry about halflings. I really worry about halflings, and I'll explain why when I get to them. But we'll get there all in good time. Right, that's it for me. I think we're looking to do ogres next, which will probably be tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate all the support and the comments, the likes and the subscribes. Keep them coming, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thank you very much. Bye for now.